Let me know how you assess this chessboard here, particularly after we know that China was sending flights, cargo flights into Iran. What is on those planes?
Yeah, we don't know, but we know this isn't good because those planes are turning off their transponders as they approach Iranian airspace. China is sending something it doesn't want the world to know. It could be ammunition, could be drones, pretty unlikely about that, but it also could be nuclear weapons. We just don't know.
Unbelievable.
当前中东地区局势紧张敏感，面临失控的风险。中方反对任何违反联合国宪章宗旨和原则、侵犯别国主权安全和领土完整的行为，反对在国际关系中使用或威胁使用武力。国际社会，特别是有影响力的大国，应秉持公正立场和负责任态度，为推动停火止战、重回对话谈判创造条件，避免地区局势滑向深渊，引发更大的灾难。
There's no certainty that we would be successful. There's some level of confidence. The president would have to factor that into his decision making, that these massive bombs would do the trick and destroy Iran's nuclear program.
Yeah.
But beyond that, the day after, what happens with Iran? Do they double down on their relationships with Iran, with China and with North Korea and Russia? To try to stay in power and rebuild a nuclear program. The day after is also critically important.
Well, what do you make of the? I want to get back to the bombs and the bunker buster in a moment. But what do you make of China? As we know that China has been transporting planes into Iran. We don't know what's on these planes, but what can you tell us in terms of China perhaps being complicit here, supporting Iran?
Now, China and Iran signed a strategic partnership deal back in 2021. Russia signed one in 2025. This is this century's axis of dictatorships, axis of tyranny, where Iran is so closely aligned with those nations. China relies on Iran for their hydrocarbons, for oil, as well as from Russia. And they've been busting sanctions, the Chinese have, and they see an opportunity to maintain their influence. This is an ally of theirs in the Middle East that they don't want to lose. And so for sure that it's not just about diplomatic top cover. Behind the scenes, China and Russia are spying on the United States, and I'm quite sure they're sharing that intelligence with the Iranians so that Iran can seek to make the best decisions possible for themselves.
All right, let's return to our top story now, where the conflict between Israel and Iran is ongoing. And we have Al Jazeera's Ali Hashim joining us live now from the Iraqi capital, Baghdad. Ali, we're getting reports of a warning from Iraq's Shia leader Ali Sistani against any US aggression against Iran. What more do we know?
Well, this was a statement, and this is the second time the statement is being issued by the highest Shia religious body, which is represented by Ayatollah Ali Sistani here in Najaf. This statement mainly condemned the Israeli attack on Iran, but the main point and the main line here is that it warned of the consequences of harming the leadership of Iran. We know the supreme leader of Iran, besides being a leader of a country, a political leader, he is a religious authority, and he's alongside with Ayatollah Sistani, they are the most senior religious leaders of the Shiite Muslim sect in the world. So what Sistani said in this statement is that there's going to be a chaos in case there's any harm to this leadership.
You have a new op-ed on how Israel just ended China's power status in the Middle East. Very interesting.
Yeah, if we go back to March 2023, it looked like China was going to drive the U.S. out of the region. That's the month where China brokered that deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Last year in July, China got 14 Palestinian factions to go to Beijing to sign what's called the Beijing Declaration, the Unity Pact. So we were sort of on the back foot, but with President Trump going to the region last month, that's really triumphal trip, and Israel targeting Iran, which is China's proxy. The Iranians don't think they're a proxy of anyone, but the Chinese think Iran is a proxy. And China's been fully supporting Iran's attack on Israel. So right now, China's policies in the Middle East are just in tatters.
Someone referenced this is like Hitler losing Italy during the 1940s. I mean, China losing Iran is a big deal.
It's an enormous deal because China thought that it could drive the U.S. out of the region, could sort of start this momentum around the world that the U.S. was in retreat everywhere, and now it's the Chinese that are having problems. Remember, they've got these proxy wars around the world. They've got Russia and Ukraine, they've got North Africa, those insurgencies that look like wars, they've got Iran, and of course Pakistan and India last month. You know, they had that 4-day war. China was fully backing Pakistan. Now all of China's initiatives seem to be failing, and that is a real indication that Beijing is in trouble globally.
World powers also working out their positions on the conflict. We're going to cross now live to Beijing, talk to our correspondent Yenna Lee, who joins us from there. Yenna, what's China's official position, first of all, then? I mean, have we heard anything from President Xi Jinping?
Well, we have now, Stuart, in his first official remarks since the start of this conflict, President Xi Jinping reportedly told state news agency Xinhua that China opposes acts that infringes on the territorial integrity of other countries, and added that all parties should promote de-escalation, whilst also putting forward his willingness to play a constructive role in this. A spokesperson, meanwhile, here at the Foreign Ministry in Beijing also made a thinly veiled critique to the United States, saying, I quote, "The country with special influence on Israel in particular needs to maintain a fair and objective position." State media such as the tabloid The Global Times also blaming the US for abandoning the nuclear deal and letting this situation escalate. China's official stance is that Israel's actions constitute a violation of Iran's territorial integrity. And although the Chinese foreign minister did tell his Israeli counterpart that Israel shouldn't have to constantly live in anxiety about a potential war either, this is, by the way, a much stronger tone and position that China has taken compared to when Russia invaded Ukraine. In any case, though, this conflict is creating the kind of instability Chinese leaders want to avoid.
It's not as simple as Netanyahu put it to him, that we're finished the job, the only thing you have to do is get involved and declare victory. It's never as simple as that. The best case scenario for Trump is that he could bomb the hell out of Iran, even take over Tehran, but then he will announce mission accomplished and get stuck, just like Bush did, get stuck for a decade in Iran. So I think the idea that he's consulting in his Situation Room that turned into a war room, the idea that he's actually hosting a Pakistani head of army, that's interesting because that's
what do you make of that?
It's a different perspective than he would have from Netanyahu, that's for sure. And any reasonable person in Washington that advising the president will say, look, whatever you do to Iran, it's going to affect a whole bunch of countries around it. I think it's surrounded by 11, I'm not sure, I think it's surrounded by 11 countries or something like that. And hence, everyone's going to be affected, including America's allies, such as Pakistan. It's also a nuclear power.
Welcome back. Well, China's UN envoy condemning Israel's strikes on Iran, calling in an intensification, and claims concerns over what will come of Israel's actions. A new report from the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute finds China has the fastest growing nuclear arsenal in the world. Beijing not commenting on the report. Meanwhile, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has thoughts over the conflict and which country is best suited to facilitate negotiations. Watch this.
Who is the voice in the world that can negotiate some type of agreement in this? Who holds the moral authority? Who holds the ability to do that? Because we are not seen as a neutral actor, and we maybe never were. Now I ask who that is. And I mean, consistently over and over again, we're going to have to face the reality. It might be the Chinese. And that goes against everything they say they're trying to do in terms of the balance of powers.
China has the moral authority to fix this conflict, according to Tim Walz. Joining me now is Gatestone Institute Senior Fellow Gordon Chang. Gordon, good to see you. Your reaction to this?
Well, you know, if you don't want to be called a communist, and Tim Walz says he's not one, then he shouldn't sound like a communist. because only a communist or a communist sympathizer would say that China has the moral authority. And by the way, China is not the neutral party, as Tim Waltz said, because we know that China has been all in on Iran's side in this war.